I'm Zeb. Okay, that was like the worst Steve Lube impression ever, but anyway, this is the Legacy of Lasat. This is an episode written by Matt Mitchovich, which means it's good. In this episode, the rebels are rescuing some refugees, and it turns out they're Lasat. And not only that, but they're looking for their home world because their old one has vanished, and there's some prophecy they follow to get there, and they're flying through space looking for it, and we also learn a bit more about Zeb. And yeah, it's good. But first off, before I get into the episode, let me just say, does anyone else feel like this feels like something out of a Bioware game? I'm not just talking about the fact that this sounds like when they're looking for the Undercity, but just, the fact that we have a group of people and then we meet someone from that character's past and some unresolved business that helps us on. But anyway, yeah, it was good. It was definitely a much better backstory episode than the... Was it Brothers of the I'm trying to remember. No, it wasn't Blood Sisters. And I liked the way they revealed Zeb's backstory. They didn't get too much into it. They gave us what we need to know in order to understand the episode, but it wasn't like where Sabine and that her blood sister are like spouting exposition back and forth. Like, a lot of stuff works from the fact that Zeb doesn't mention this. That worked for the simple fact that he wouldn't want to talk about this. This isn't like... It didn't feel like... Because oftentimes in shows, characters won't mention something about their backstory because the writers didn't think of it, and it's like, I never mentioned it. Like, for bad examples, just look at Star Trek V with Spock's brother. Seriously, why did Spock never mention his brother? And Princess Bubblegum's brother in Adventure Time. This works because, again, it's something Zeb wouldn't necessarily want to talk about it. And when he says, I must have forgot, it's like a great telling moment of Zeb clearly telling that he doesn't want to admit this. Like, he's pretending he doesn't know. Which really bugs me when Ezra has to state the obvious, which is that Zeb's clearly hiding something. But yeah, like, we don't get too into Zeb's backstory, we just get the general gist of it. And again, when we do get a sit-down explanation, it's natural. I mean, we have an out-of-the-box character, and Sue says, what happened? And it makes sense that Zeb would say this. Like, but again, we just get the gist of it. We don't get the full-on history or relationship. We get a bit of the culture, but not too much. Although similar to previous Rebels episodes, and I think, and again, this is a major problem, the arc felt rushed. And the reason why is because Rebels character arcs usually happen in the course of one episode, so a character will feel one way by the start of an episode, and then they'll feel another way by the end of it. And it does kind of bother me. I mean, they don't necessarily need to do arcs, but like maybe seasonal arcs just slowly turn the characters. Like, you know how Ventress, her redemption happened gradually over the course of several seasons. It wasn't like one episode she was smiling, the next episode was this. It was like slowly, like literally, like the bounty hunter episode. When she gave away, when she chose to help the people, like it was a little change for her. Like it was a change, but it wasn't too drastic. It was a good character. Zeb, again, it's like after Ezra just gives Zeb a pep talk, and then Zeb suddenly does it. I mean, it's a bit better because it's like he's grumpy at first, and it's only at the end that he starts to feel good. But again, it's one of those, it's a little rushed, and I would have liked to have seen that happen a bit more gradual, like maybe set up beforehand that Zeb's annoyed as people. I mean, I know we got it beforehand, but that was way back in Season 1. But I do like the idea of Zeb sort of going on a spiritual journey, finding his purpose, getting in touch with his people, like the staff. Like, that was a quick little way of just... There's a part of Zeb's culture that he's been rejecting, and he's sort of forced to open that up. And helping him find the Ever Lasat helps him see that. Although, I'm a little mixed on there being more Lasat, because on one end, it is a nice way of giving Zeb this sense of catharsis, but on the other end, it also kind of feels like a cop-out, because it's like, no, you didn't have to worry. I mean, it's not terrible, but it is one of those moments where I wish they had taken a bit more of a risk, but I mean, it's just nitpicking. Steve Bloom did a wonderful job voicing Zeb, really showed the turmoil with him. Um, the the presentation on Rebels is getting much, much, much better. The opening sequence was fun and entertaining. Like, it felt Star Warsy, like the shooting and narrow escapes and chases. The visuals in space were wonderful. Like, I love that star thing. It looked gorgeous, something out of a painting, Starry Night. And you had that wonderful score, which I love that it's like a nice 2-minute thing on Star Wars. It's just wonderful to listen to. The only flaw is that they blew so much of their budget on space that they had none left over for the Lasat home planet. So I was like, it's like, okay, there's like 2 minutes left. There's no way they're gonna animate an entire planet just for this. So maybe we'll go back there. Although honestly, we don't need to. And it also gives Zeb like something to look forward to, which maybe he'll die, maybe he won't live to see his family, or maybe he can die in peace now, knowing the Lasat are safe. But yeah, it was interesting. So, Hondo's in this episode, and he's fun as always. I hope he's okay. There were only a few flaws in this episode. I'm going to get the minor ones out of the way and then get to the biggie one. I mean, outside of rushed arcs, which is a problem with every Rebels episode, though not as bad. It did get a little goofy at times with Ezra. Like, I don't know, some of his dialogue was a little goofy. The Lasat elders, tad annoying, a little bit of a waste of Grey Griffin. I mean, seriously, why isn't she voice? You know, I would say why isn't she voice the female Inquisitor, but Buffy does a fine job. Although those Inquisitors really need to start racking up their wing count because they are failing miserably. Ezra's betrayal of Hondo felt weird. I mean, I know Ezra's a bit of a jerk, but I mean, at the same time, it's like Hondo helped you out. You have a good reputation, and when Hondo betrays him, it's like Ezra kind of deserves it for betraying Hondo. I mean, I love Hondo being like, I'm so proud of Ezra, that was a cute moment, but then, again, he betrays them with the money, but then he apologizes. It's just this weird back and forth inconsistency, which I guess works for Hondo's character, but I don't know. The biggest flaw in this episode is Agent Callus. Either kill Agent Callus off, depromote him, or go somewhere else. It's getting ridiculous how many times he's failing to capture the rebels. It's getting repetitive. Like, I mean, I appreciate his consistency with him still being like, let them die, but it's like, come on, Callus, just... There's only so many times I can watch Callus fail to capture the rebels before it gets annoying. And I don't care if you make like an in-joke about it, it's still not gonna get old. I mean, it's getting old fast. I mean, this isn't like Count Dooku where... I mean, it's like in Clone Wars when Count Dooku and Grievous would keep escaping, but to be fair, there came a point in Clone Wars where they strayed away from that and they stopped doing that as much, or it would be like a once-a-season thing, but not... Other than that, they wouldn't do it too much. And yeah, all around one of the better episodes. Gave Zeb some love, which is nice because I like Zeb and Steve Bloom. I wasn't particularly looking forward to this episode, but it pleasantly surprised me. So good job, Matt. You wrote once again one of the stronger episodes of Clone Wars. It's just like nothing against Henry Gilroy. He's fine, but he's a good writer. But he's not a great writer. I mean, even on Clone Wars, like the arcs he wrote weren't bad. They just weren't ones that really stuck with me. Like the slavery arc, it was a good arc. It's just I don't really remember. Like when I look back on that season, it aired in season 4. I remember the one where Obi-Wan goes undercover. I think of the Darth Maul arc. I think of what else was in... Oh yeah, the Umbara arc, which Matt wrote, which was great. The slavery arc really didn't stand out to me. And then there was also the arc involving Ahsoka and Lux, which was great. So before I go, I just want to address the Force Awakens Rebels theories, which, if you don't know, a lot of people believe that there's characters in Rebels that are going to show up in Force Awakens. I don't think so, for the simple reason that it wouldn't make sense because to do this bottom-up approach. Because the thing is, there are a lot more people who watch the movies than the show, and it would be really weird to have like a major element of The Force Awakens be in the show. Like, seriously think about it. Like, how confusing would it be if Ahsoka showed up in the new Star Wars? Like, it wouldn't. So I feel like it's going to be more like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where stuff in the movies is going to show up in the show, and it's going to be like, oh, cool little nod, but they're not going to make people watch the show to get the films. I mean, if anything, the show's drawing from the film. Like this week, we had the star map chopper being similar to the BB-8 map in The Force Awakens. But yeah, so to those of you who think the Inquisitor's Snoke, it's not. They aren't going to do that. I mean, just think about that. I mean, are you really going to make a bunch of people watch the show to get the movies? No, I mean, you're going to put stuff in the movies in the show because everyone's seen the movies, so they'll be like, oh, cool, whereas if you do it the other way, it doesn't work. Like, look at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are never going to show up in, I want to say never, but it's very unlikely they'll show up in the Marvel movies. It's the other way around. I mean, there might be little tie-ins, but nothing too much. So that's my thoughts on this week's Rebels episode. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like, dislike, comment, subscribe. And this is JStar60. And until next time, I'll see you later. So, may the Force be with you.